Okay, last time we looked at the causes of the Spanish-American War. And because I'm lazy, I'm just going to refer to it as SAW. So now we're going to look at the results of SAW. So you'll remember that the United States started this war with Spain, partly because they had sympathy for the rebels, partly because of the sugar investments in Cuba, and also the yellow journalism was making everyone really hate Spain and want a war. This was a very short war, it lasted 10 weeks, as Teddy Roosevelt called it, a splendid little war. So this is where the war is taking place for the most part. It's also in the Philippines, but the land part of it is here in Cuba. There's a naval battle going on the other side in the Philippines. And America has been investing in a very powerful navy. So most of the world still thinks about the power of an army, a land army. But the United States was getting ahead of everyone else with this powerful navy. And that was a huge advantage and a reason why we defeated Spain in the Philippines. And then over in Cuba, we have other advantages. The Cuban rebels are helping us. We have these new inventions that are just kind of changing warfare, the machine gun, barbed wire. We'll see these things in World War I later on. But the Spanish, after the Battle of San Juan Hill with Teddy Roosevelt and his Rough Riders, who, by the way, got kind of bailed out by the Buffalo Soldiers, if you're a Bob Marley fan, Buffalo Soldiers. But the Cubans gain their independence, or we defeat Spain. And there's a bell. Now, in the negotiations with Spain, America does not when you know that the surrender is not always the end of the war. After every war, there's a surrender, but then there's the treaty. Now, in the surrender, the rebels and America were involved in that. In the treaty, though, it was just the U.S. talking with Spain. The rebels were not invited. So you don't actually have to know that, but it is important when we get to Castro, who you may have heard about. The reason Castro comes to power in Cuba is because there's a lot of things that the U.S. talked about with Spain that the Cubans did not like. So in that treaty where the U.S. was talking to Spain, certain things were traded. Spain agreed to give up certain property, certain land, and America, just by the fact that they're getting all these things, is just becoming more powerful. So they're kind of leveling up now that Spain is getting smaller. And all that power is going to the U.S. So these are the notes I'd like you to take in your notebook. So the results of the Spanish-American War, the first thing is the whole thing that this is being fought for in the public is for Cuba to become independent. And if you can handle it, I'd like you to put some bunny ears on that. Cuba is independent. I put that in quotes because Cuba is officially independent, but they have to kind of talk to us. Kind of like if you're turning 18 years old and your parents say, you're independent now, but they're still paying for college and they might veto the person you want to date, something like that. So Cuba is independent. But if that's kind of hard to get, then just call them independent. The war also results in the U.S. becoming a world power. So in this little picture up top here, we see the U.S. going all over this hemisphere. And this ends up being the beginning of the U.S. becoming a dominant power. Spain is out. France, England, Germany is going to rise up pretty soon. And now America is not just a wealthy country, but also a very militarily strong country. And America also gets from Spain agrees to sell to us possession of Guam, Philippines, and Puerto Rico. Now, the Filipinos were not too happy with that, and they fought against Spain, which is a large part of why Spain lost, because the Filipinos did not like Spain, and they also didn't like us. And so there was a very long, brutal rebellion that was not a very pleasant chapter in American history, but you'll learn more about that in high school. But the Filipinos eventually got their independence completely, and now they don't belong to us. They're not protectorate. Guam and Puerto Rico are still possessions of America. They have some of the rights that American citizens have, but not all of them. To remember this, we think of the cup. CUP. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time.